Hello, I'm Jason and welcome to my comic book review video as I review the comics released on the 11th of July 2012. Didn't get as many books this week, so we should have a much shorter video. Another thing this week, no Marvel books, which is a rarity for me. I was a bit surprised, not one Marvel title. But let's get down with the reviews, and first up we have Batman issue 11 as we conclude the Court of Owls storyline that's been running since issue 1. Story, as always, is written by Scott Snyder, art by Greg Capullo. And previously, if you've not been reading this book, the Court of Owls were this secret society that ran Gotham from the shadows. They're now back to reclaim Gotham, and they look to take out Batman, who'd be a big roadblock in their plan. They try to break him physically and mentally, but fail. They then move on to the next phase of their plan, which is to take out all the key figures in Gotham in one evening. Using their soldiers, their talons, they launch this attack. But Batman calls in the family of the Bat, and they manage to stop most of these attempted assassinations. Batman then decides to take the fight to the court, which he does, and he finds their lair, but they've all committed suicide, and it seems that that's the end of the case. They've all committed suicide and it's done. But it's not as simple as that, and Batman knows it isn't finished. He goes to the morgue and finds the body of Lincoln March, a gentleman who was running for mayor and was shot by one of the Talons. He's missing. He follows the clues which take him to Willowbrook, which is a shut down hospital. There he finds Lincoln March, who has injected himself with the formula the Talons use, and this is how he wasn't killed. It reveals that he was working for the Court of Owls, but they got scared of him. They thought he was amassing too much power, and they wanted to take him out. He then reveals to Batman that he is not in fact Lincoln March, but his true name is Thomas Wayne Jr. He is Batman's brother. This issue picks up from there as we find out that Lincoln March believes Batman left him to rot in Willowbrook deliberately so that he could take Gotham as his own. Of course, that's not the case, but you can't argue with crazy people. They have this fight that takes them all over Gotham and concludes, I won't tell you how because I don't want to spoil it. The end of the issue, we have a nice scene between Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne as they discuss the events and their conclusions. One thing I really liked about this issue is that we don't get the definitive answers. We get that the Court of Owls are still out there. There are other branches of the court, and that they will try and rebuild. Likewise, we don't get the definitive answer. Is Lincoln March Thomas Wayne Jr. or isn't he? We don't get a definitive answer. Likewise, we don't know at the end of this issue whether he's alive or dead. And I like that. It leaves nice threads to come back to later, but finishes the story for now, and as all sides have to rebuild. And I like that. I'm really enjoying this book. It's one of my favourite books every month. It's a joy to read, to see a writer and an artist who are both at the top of their game and just writing one of the best superhero books out there. We also get in the back the conclusion of the backup story, The Fall of the House of Wayne, as you get to see the outcome of the final fate of Jarvis Pennyworth, the father of Alfred. And you know, it's just a really good book. I recommend picking it up. Even if you've not read Batman since the reboot, pick this one up. You'll follow it. It's a great book. The art by Greg Capullo is brilliant. I'm trying to find a page that don't spoil. Yeah, you get to see Batman's brother there in his owl gimmick up gear, and it's a really good issue. And the backup story is written by Snyder and James Tynion IV, with art by Raphael Albuquerque, and I like that because it has a totally different feel to the main feature, and I do like his art as well. I think that is really good. Two really good stories, get double bang for your buck, and you know, yeah, Batman rolls on as one of the best books out there, and I give it a thumbs up. Next up we have Bloodshot, issue 1 by Valiant Comics, and I never knew much about Valiant. In the 90s I collected comics, but I mainly read Marvel. I didn't know about independent companies. But apparently I've read that they were a big company in the 90s and they seemed to go away, and now they're back. and they're rebooting all their comics. They're bringing out all the heroes. They've already bought out X-Men of War, which was brilliant. Recommend picking that up. That's brilliant. Also, Harbinger came out, which I wasn't as keen on, and this is their third issue. Third comic they've relaunched, Bloodshot. Bloodshot is basically this kind of like soldier, a super soldier really. He's been injected with nanites, which give him enhanced strength, give him the ability to heal, allow him to keep in radio contact, allow him better reflexes, and basically a super soldier. And there is a nice little thing on the inside page which explains all about the little nanites. Story kicks off over Afghanistan as this plane gets shot down and the two guys get captured. Ray then has a meeting with this military guy who says that his friend's been captured in Afghanistan, and asks him to go in and rescue him, which he agrees to, even though he said no more missions. He's going to do this one because it's for his friend. He then tells his wife and kid that he's going to do this mission and then he'll be back. And then he jumps out the plane, he gets shot, and the remains of his body hit the ground, and he gets taken into this enemy base, and he heals, so he's infiltrated the base. He then starts killing their guys one by one. He then sees his son and he's like, what's going on, what's my son doing here? But it's a hologram, and he gets shot in the head, knocking him out. He wakes up and he's got all these things attached to his head, and he meets this guy called Mr. Kertic. I think it was Kertic. Kurtic, that was it. Mr. Kurtic, you see in the scene here. Mr. Kurtic, over here, he wakes up, and that apparently he's part of this Project Raising Spirit, right? And they're the military people that we've seen, and they the ones that have built Ray. This Mr. Kurtic worked for them back in the day, but he doesn't now, and we don't know why. That's another question sort of left dangling. But he does reveal to our hero Ray that everything he thinks is true is a lie. Those people he thinks of his family, they're not his family. He's had hundreds of families like that are just there to give him a reason to return from the mission. His friend, he don't exist. It's just an excuse they always use to get him to go back in the field. And that everything he thinks he knows is a lie. This like totally shakes Ray's world. It's like, whoa, he doesn't know what to believe anymore. He manages to break out, and that sort of brings us to the end of the issue, which I don't want to ruin. One thing I really want to mention and really compliment is the art. You have two artists on this book, and the one draws this scene. The 2 pages where he's with the military guy and then he's with his family. It's done in a totally different style to when he's in the field. They totally changed the artwork, which I loved. It gave that one scene a totally different feel. And the other thing about that scene is that scene where he's with his family is the only scene in the book where he doesn't have red eyes. The rest of the book, he's got like red eyes all the way through. There is his remains when he's been shot down. But it was a brilliant book. I loved it. I instantly connected with that character. When that scene there, it's revealed that everything he knows is a lie, you felt so sorry for him. And yet, it's not an original idea. You know, they did the same thing with Wolverine in the 80s with the Weapon X storyline. So it's not an original idea, but the execution of it is really good. And it really hits you as, here's a guy that believed he had a family, that he had a life, and suddenly he finds out he doesn't. I found that really heartbreaking, and I also, you know, really want to see him get justice, and to find out who this project, I keep forgetting what they're called, Project Rising Spirit are. What are they? Are they part of the military, or are they separate, or what is it? So that's going to be interesting. It raises a lot of questions, this issue, that you want to see answered, and I'm sure they will answer in the months ahead. But I'm on board after one issue, and it's rare. Usually I wait a few issues and make my decision, but if all the issues are as strong as this one, I'm definitely on board. Next month we get the next #1 they're releasing is Archer and Armstrong, which you get a preview of here, which is really good. I enjoyed that preview, and it whet my palate, and I think I'll probably pick that one up as well. But if you're a bit fed up with Marvel and DC, they're not scratching that itch anymore, try out Valiant, try out Bloodshot, you will not be sorry. And I give Bloodshot a thumbs up. Also, on a side note, this is my favourite cover this week at the comics I picked up. I really love that cover. The way they have the chest sort of bleeding into the flag, I really like that. And yeah, thumbs up comic for me. Next up, we have Batman and Robin issue 11, written by Thomas. Still thinking of Thomas Wayne. Written by, let me get this right, Peter J. Tomasi, art by Patrick Gleason. In the last issue we saw Robin declare war on the former Robins, saying he was going to beat each of them at something they were good at and then take one of their possessions as a trophy to prove to himself, to his father and to all of them that he is the best Robin. This issue sees him take on the Red Hood, who was the second Robin, and they have this nice battle at the beginning of the issue. We then jump into the main story where the villain Terminus, who's put together this gang of guys who have been defeated by Batman, and they're going around in this issue and they're branding people with the sign of the bat. They're taking the symbol that Batman made as a symbol of fear for the criminal community, and they're making it a symbol of fear for everybody, as they're branding everybody they can in Gotham with this symbol. Batman is majorly pissed that somebody's taking the symbol he's used and perverting it, and he wants to shut these guys down. And sort of then the buildings explode and the symbol appears on the side of these buildings, and this even freaks Batman out even more. He's really pissed, and sort of leads us to our conclusion. I enjoyed this book. I loved the idea of using the symbol against Batman. The thing that he's created as a symbol of fear for all criminals is suddenly a symbol of fear for everyone in Gotham. I liked that twist. I also enjoyed the opening scene between Red Hood and Robin and felt the dialogue was terrific. Now here's my problem with this issue. It felt like there were two stories and neither one of them was connected to the other. I thought the whole War of the Robins thing would be its own story, but we only get a few pages of that, and it left me unsatisfied. Though I enjoyed it and I thought the art was good, the two stories I just didn't think added up. They were like oil and water. They didn't mix together well, and it just felt like I was reading two comics, and I would have liked to have seen a lot more of the whole Red Hood Robin thing, because I don't think Robin would have beaten him that easily. I just don't. When you read Red Hood and the Outlaws and you've seen all the extra training he went through after Batman, okay, yeah, Damien's been bred from birth to be an assassin, but come on, you know, I just didn't feel, if he was going to win, I didn't feel it would be as quickly and as easily as he did. So for me that was a bit unfulfilling, and it was one of the things I was really looking forward to, and for me it was the dialogue I was looking forward to, which delivered, but it was just over so quickly. It was like blink and you'd miss it. But anywho, I enjoyed it, but not as much as I enjoyed previous issues, so I will give it a thumbs in the middle. Next up we have Before Watchmen, the Minutemen. This book is issue 2 of 6, and it's written by Darwin Cook, and the issue 1 I loved. I really enjoyed the issue 1. It was a real fun issue as it introduced all the members of the Minutemen, which is a bit of a strange name because they're not all men, but anyway. So this issue sees the team come together and sees them go on their first mission, as they're going to shut down these explosives and these people that are smuggling explosives, and they attack the warehouse, but then they find they're not smuggling explosives, they're smuggling Chinese fireworks. Not as big a bust as you'd think. So anyway, they end up lying at the press conference. Captain Metropolis and his agent Larry, they sort of lie that they did find explosives and they've shut them down, and everybody claps and applauds them. They then are deciding what mission they're going to do next in a private meeting, where Comedian brings up when is he going to get paid, and they sort of reveal that yeah, there will be money coming through. And then they sort of discussing, well, what are we going to do? Silhouette, she wants to take out this child trafficking ring that that are kidnapping children and molesting them and then smuggling the pornography. She wants to shut these down. But Silk Spectre and Larry agree that that's going to be too depressing. People don't want to read about kids that are being molested, that it's too depressing. So they decide instead they're going to try and shut down Moloch, because that's something that the public will respond to. So Silhouette is not impressed. She's going to go off and do the mission anyway, but Night Owl and Mothman agree to go with her. We then see Comedian and Dollar Bill are going to hang out and have a beer, as Larry's going to take Silk Spectre somewhere. He asks Silk Spectre to be seen with Hooded Justice, because Hooded Justice is gay, but he doesn't want nobody to find out Hooded Justice is gay. So if he's sitting around with Silk Spectre, everybody will presume they're an item, and that will start people thinking he's gay, which he is gay. Comedian and Dollar Bill overhear Captain Metropolis and Hooded Justice talking, and it's very clear that they're a couple. Next we see Captain Metropolis is tied naked to a bed, as Hooded Justice is about to give him a bit of bondage, and then we jump to see what's happening with Night Owl and Silhouette and Mothman, and that's where it ends. We do a bit of a see what their investigation takes them. The artwork once again is just gorgeous. Is 2 pages. I just loved that picture down here where the fireworks are all going off. It's a lot darker than the first issue. The artwork, like I said, is great. It really has that vintage kind of feel that makes you feel like you're reading about older heroes from an earlier time. I think Darwin Cook's doing a really good job and paying real homage to the original works by Alan Moore. That there's things in that he's taken and expanding on that Alan Moore sort of put there. We knew Hooded Justice was into tying up men and, you know, being kinky with them. We knew that. Comedian knew that. How did Comedian know that? It's answered here because Hooded Justice was having an affair with somebody on the team, and that's how Comedian knew and why he made that remark. Likewise, you know, why was Hooded Justice so upset? Yeah, you would be upset if a teammate had been raped, but why was he? And it's clear now that he's got a friendship with Silk Spectre from their time together, trying to be a couple. So I liked that sort of like throwing in there. There's even mention that they've got to have a group photograph taken, which I'm sure it's after they have the group photograph that Comedian rapes Silk Spectre. So you've got the foreshadowing of that, you know that that's going to be coming up. And it would be great to sort of see the build up to that and then the aftermath of that. It would be really great how that affected the team. Was that the beginning of the team breaking up? See, so I like what Darwin Cook's doing with this book, and it's making me think, I wonder. And it's really playing well into Watchmen, while building up everything that sort of happens and giving it greater significance and greater meaning. It was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. Recommend picking it up. One of the things they've done really well is while he pays homage to the original book, at the same time it's not continuation heavy. You could read this book having not read Watchmen and you'd enjoy it as a standalone book. So I give Minutemen issue 2 a thumbs up. Next up is Batgirl, and I think this is probably for me the most underappreciated DC comic in the New 52. I've always known about Batgirl. I remember in the 60s TV show. I remember it in the dreadful Batman and Robin movie. But she was never a hero that really captured my imagination or I was a big fan of. And then the New 52 came out, and I liked the hook for her first issue. That here was this woman who had been shot by the Joker, had been in a wheelchair for 3 years, and now she was able to walk again, and she was going back to being Batgirl. And physically she was healed, but mentally she was still scarred. And the first story arc was very much about her getting her confidence back, proving to herself, not just herself, but to the world, that she could still do this. Even though the world don't know she was paralysed, she's just out there proving that she can still do this. This issue sort of picks up the story from the last issue, where we've got this new vigilante group called The Disgraced, and basically They're kind of like the Punisher. If you think of the Punisher, they're like a gang of Punishers who basically kill criminals because that's the way they think they should be dealt with. We met them last issue, but we never got all their names. This issue we're introduced to them. Their leader is called Nightfall, and then you've got Catharsis, you've got Bleak Michael, and you've got Bonebreaker. And if things are not looking good, they initially want Batgirl to join the group, but when they can see she's not gonna, they're just gonna take her out. Luckily, Detective McKenna shows up and they get out of there. We then learn all about Nightfall and who she is and why she was in prison and, you know, what it is about her. We also find out more about Detective McKenna, who's a character who's been in the book, a recurring character in the book since issue 1. So it's great to find out more about your surrounding characters. We also get to see James Gordon Jr., the psychotic brother of Barbara, who's still in the background, as he's gone on a date with her flatmate, Alicia, but she doesn't know yet. She doesn't know her sister's flatmate seeing her brother. She doesn't know none of this yet. And so, like, you've got that building in the background, and the last page was my first holy shit moment of the week. It was just, I didn't, you know, I knew it was coming, but the way they set it up is so brilliant and organic. I'm loving how Gail Simone writes this character. Some men can write women and women can write men characters, but I don't think a man can get the full complexities of the female brain. And I think Gail Simone writing this book, because she's female, she writes this character so brilliantly, and it's such a unique take on a hero that you don't get in other books, you know. And I'm loving this book. I enjoyed this issue, thought this issue was great. Let a bit of Get Batgirl into your life, you will not be sorry. I give this book a thumbs up. Next up is my book of the week, and initially I thought it was going to be Batman, and even though there were a bunch of books that I enjoyed, I was still thinking it's going to be Batman. And then I got to the last book, Swamp Thing, and this blew me away. It blew my mind, and this is my book of the week. Last issue we saw the return of Anton Arcane, and he came to reclaim I think she's his niece, Abigail, and it looked like he'd killed Swamp Thing. Luckily, we find this issue that the Parliamentary had protected Swamp Thing, and now Swamp Thing goes and he has a big old fight with Anton, and most of the issues they fight. We find out about who the Unmen are, who and what they are, and it gave me my second holy shit moment of the week when I turned to the last page of this. It was brilliant. I read through this so fast. I read it again, and I read through it so fast the second time, and loved it just as much. Snyder is just a fantastic writer, and you know, he's doing a great job on Batman, but on this book as well, he's doing a great job. And we're finally getting the resolution. We're getting to where we've been building for a year, and we're finally going to get to see it. And I loved this book, and it's definitely my pick of the week. I didn't like the cover. I thought the cover was a bit but I did enjoy this issue. I thought it was a great read. If you just want something different to your regular costume superheroes, Swamp Thing's a book for you, and I give it a thumbs up. That's my reviews for this week. 2 other books I received in the post. I collect the Marvel Graphic Novel Collection, which is out in the UK, which is released by Marvel Comics, and they pick 60 books, which are some of the best books from the 80s onwards, and they've put them in a series, and they come out every fortnight, and I subscribe to them, so I receive them every month. And I got my next 2 issues. I got Captain America The New Deal, which I've not heard of before. Read the synopsis on the back. It's something to do with 9/11 and Captain America's response to it. On the spine, you'll see you have a pit disc, and it builds up to make one big picture, and at the top you have the number. This one is number 27. The other book, another book I didn't know nothing about, is called Marvels, and reading the synopsis on the back, it is about the early days of the Marvel Universe, and how all the heroes debuted through the eyes of an ordinary guy off the street, and how he sees all these heroes coming up. Again, you've got the spine there, you've got the picture, and this is number 13 out of the 60. I think they're numbered chronologically, certainly it looks that way, but I've not read them books yet. I'm looking forward to reading them. If you're interested in the Marvel graphic novel collection, maybe you buy it and you want to see some reviews for it, or you're somebody abroad who wants to see more about them and what we're getting here in the UK, check out Ghost Critic's videos. He does a whole series of reviews on those books, which I recommend watching. They're a great series of reviews. That's it from me this week. I will most probably be back with a vlog on Monday, and then my review video should be up, fingers crossed, should be up sometime Thursday afternoon, Friday morning. That's me for this week. I hope you all have a good week. Thanks for watching. If you want to keep up on my videos, there's a subscribe button up there. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that and subscribe, and you'll get my videos put into your feed every week. They'll be easier to find. And if you liked it, please tell me. Give me a down there. There should be a thumbs up or thumbs down. Give me whichever you think's appropriate. I love feedback, so any comments you've got, please leave them. And I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.